Gamlankate Girim Yakipam Tamaham Vande Sigurum Didatarinam Om Gyana Timirandasya Gananja Shakaya Chakshu Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we're here today to hear about Srila Prabhupada and our different experiences with him. So my name is Narayani Dasi, and I joined in Boston 1970, and I was sent to India in 1972. Prabhupada asked for 50 devotees to come to India, and from every temple different devotees were chosen. My husband and I were chosen to come to India, and we got a one-way ticket because Prabhupada told us to go, but he didn't tell us to go back. So I didn't go back. Still here. So experiences with Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan, Mayapur. Mostly when Prabhupada was here, I was the pujari in Calcutta temple for Radha Govinda. Actually, all the temples except Mayapur, all the pujaris were ladies, except for Mayapur. Mayapur was Jananivas. And so we had to do all the deity worship. One time I was doing Mangalarti, and I was offering the ghee lamp to Radha Govinda, and I turned around, and right behind me, 6 inches, was Srila Prabhupada standing and watching me. So I didn't know should I offer him the ghee lamp or should I do a puja? What should I do? So I think I did a quick puja, and then I offered him the ghee lamp. And then the whole arti, he was just standing right behind me. And I was very nervous and very focused on my service. And after that, I thought, well, I should do all my service like that. Like Prabhupada is standing behind me, watching me doing my service. Then I'll really be concentrated on everything I do. So the deities in Calcutta, there was a window behind them. We had lots and lots of flowers. I had one man, he was donating 50 garlands every day. 50 garlands just for Gaur, Radha Govinda, and Jagannath. So we had 4 kinds of champa. We had rose, we had jasmine, we had all the flowers. We had lotus, 144 lotuses every day. So I used to change the flowers 5 times a day. And Prabhupada, he loved the flowers and the beautiful fragrance that was coming from the deities. So every day, the bees used to come to the deities. On Radha Govinda's side, 2 bumblebees would come every day. And they would circumambulate the deities, and they'd go and sit inside these big lotus flowers we had. And on Jagannath's side, we had small bees, and they would just sit on the garlands. And Prabhupada noticed the bees. He said, when the bees are coming to the deities, then Krishna is pleased with the worship. So we had bees coming every day, the same. I know so on one side we had Goloka Vrindavan, the other side we had Jagannath Puri. We had like Vaikuntha. It was a Vaikuntha mood. If you read the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam, then if you read the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam, then you can read that the flies are sitting on the garlands in the spiritual world. So we had that in our Calcutta temple. We had experience of that. Are you going to speak too? Come, sit. Jai. So I'll just say one more thing about Srila Prabhupada. I went on a morning walk with him one time. I think I went on a few. This was in Juhu Beach, Bombay, maybe 75. And I was running to catch up. I came late to the morning walk. And I was running, and finally I caught up. And Prabhupada stopped the whole morning walk and turned to me, Hare Krishna. I thought, wow, who am I? I'm just some insignificant devotee out of thousands. But he had the time to acknowledge my presence. So I felt like, he was not too busy to show his affection to anybody, to his disciples. And that's why we did everything. We followed him, because he was the leader. He was the example. He was the example of how to be a devotee, how to give the love of Lord Chaitanya to everyone. So another time I was in Calcutta, and Prabhupada came, and he had his Sanskrit editor Pradyumna with him, and Pradyumna knew I know how to type, so he said, how would you like to come to Mayapur with Srila Prabhupada? He needs somebody to type Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I said, yes. He said, yes, you just have to learn how to read Bengali, and we're leaving tomorrow. I said, no problem, I'm coming. Impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary, Prabhupada said. So I learned Bengali, how to read, and off I was the next day with going with Prabhupada and his entourage to Mayapur. And so I was sitting in one room typing. I had earphones on, and I was listening to Prabhupada speak the Bengali words. I was reading, I had this big, huge book of Chaitanya Charitamrita, all in Bengali letters. So I was hearing him speak Bengali, I was reading the Bengali letters, and I was typing in English. And Prabhupada saw me, he said, oh, you know Bengali? I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. I just wanted to make him feel happy. So he called me in his room, you know Bengali? Yes, Srila Prabhupada. So I want you to learn, Prabhupada said, I want you to learn how to type on a Bengali typewriter. So, and we will do many books together. So I had visions, I'm going to travel, but it didn't come true because they called me back to Calcutta to be the head pujari, because all the pujaris were leaving because we got a new temple president. His name was Gargamuni, and everybody was afraid of him, and so they all left the temple. So I had to go and be the head pujari. Maybe you heard him speak yesterday. So, yeah, I didn't get to travel. But one thing came true was I did many books with Srila Prabhupada. I've written 14, 15 books. Bhagavatam at a glance, Bhagavad-Gita at a glance. And I feel that is with Srila Prabhupada. I'm writing these books. So, yeah, I can tell more later, but first let's hear from some other devotees.
Radhakund.
Oh yeah, Radhakund. You're not ready? You're ready.
I'm not ready.
Now you have to get the
All
garland
glories to
because you
Srila
don't have-
Prabhupada. That makes me ready. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You just reminded me of a humorous but very meaningful statement that Prabhupada made. Sorry. Narayani just reminded me of a very humorous and very meaningful statement that Srila Prabhupada made on a morning walk in Bombay. Gangamai told me this. She was on the walk. She said at one point Prabhupada stuck his cane into the sand, and he said, our movement may have many enemies, but Johnny Walker is still going strong. Johnny Walker is a brand of whiskey in England, and on the label it's got a little man with a walking stick walking. And we all have seen Srila Prabhupada with his walking stick walking. So Prabhupada made that joke that the movement may have many enemies, but Johnny Walker is still going strong. Prabhupada's humor. My name is Anada, and I joined in actually I joined in Marseille, France, but I met Srila Prabhupada for the first time in Paris in 1972, July. And it was by the mercy of Nanda Kumar, one of Srila Prabhupada's servants, asked me if I would like to see Srila Prabhupada. And I wasn't that much of a fool to say no. So the first time I met Srila Prabhupada, it was definitely a moment that changed my life forever. Prabhupada was very merciful, as he always is, and I felt at that point completely connected to the spiritual sky through Srila Prabhupada. I'll never forget that moment. It was an introduction to eternity, an introduction to the spiritual world, which Prabhupada carried with him and manifested wherever he went. Srila Prabhupada asked me to preach, which I haven't really done yet, but I'm hoping for the blessings of my elder god sisters that I'll be able to do that someday. So, Radhika, maybe the mic will work for you.
Hare Krishna. My name is Radhakund Dasi. I'm from America, and I met Srila Prabhupada. In 1969, he came to the college where I was studying, in Ohio State University. At that time, I had never seen an Indian in my life, because America was not giving any visas to anyone, isn't it? There were no Chinese, no Indian. So that's why Prabhupada went through so much trouble to get his P form and his visa for America. So the sign said, an Indian yogi will give a lecture today. So everyone was so interested. There was at least 10,000 students in the hall. They were hanging from the windows. It was packed. And Srila Prabhupada came and did the kirtan and gave a lecture. And I just remember thinking that this is it. This is what I've been looking for. Then I got back to Godhead at later on, and immediately joined. One time on Prabhupada's disappearance day, I was sitting in the samadhi, and I was thinking, Srila Prabhupada, you've done so much for me. You've done so much for me. You've given me everything. So what can I do for you? How can I please you? And just at that moment, one boy came in the samadhi, and he took Chanamrit, and on the back of his shirt was written, if you really want to please me, then distribute my books. So it was in black and white, Technicolor, live. It couldn't have been more vivid and clear. Srila Prabhupada wants the books out. You can see every purport he's writing. People are suffering. We have to get out and give them knowledge and save them. They're all looking down the road and they're looking, when are the Hare Krishnas going to come and save me? One devotee was telling me he was getting in his car and he turned on the radio and he said, the radio announcer said, whatever happened to those Hare Krishnas, those happy Hare Krishnas? They used to always sing and dance in the street. Where are they? So, Srila Prabhupada told us 100 times, distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. And I don't know what happened, but it seems like devotees in ISKCON have forgotten this. When I first joined, the very first day I joined, I was out on Harinam distributing books. The very first day. It was part of everyone's schedule. We'd get up, do the morning program, have prasadam, and then out. Distributing books, right? That was everybody's schedule. We all went on Harinam every single day. And we used to go from 9 in the morning to 9 at night. And then the book scores would go up to Srila Prabhupada. And one day he wrote on the bottom, he said, from tomorrow I want everyone in the temple out on Harinam. We used to go to Hollywood. We'd have the Harinam party. Do you remember this? Harinam party, books, prasadam, and we were always in the movies. There would always be a clip of Hare Krishna devotees. So this is how ISKCON movement spread like wildfire. In 10 years, everybody knew about Hare Krishna because all the devotees were out on the street, because that's what Srila Prabhupada wanted, isn't it? We were all out. Just imagine, 12 hours a day we were out, and it was the best part of my entire life. I was so ecstatic. And Srila Prabhupada would every day want to see those book scores. And he would write a note every day at the bottom of the scores. All glories to Sankirtan devotees, or you're all going back to Godhead. He would write some note to encourage us. So I think that if we have any gratitude for what Srila Prabhupada's done for us, we should search our heart. You know, Prabhupada told us once, he said, I walked through hellfire to come and get you all. He said it 3 times. I walked through hellfire to come and get you. I walked through hellfire. He was enumerating all the things that he did. Heart attacks on the boat, living on Skid Row with all the drunkards, and all of us were sitting there crying. And he said, why are you crying? And just go drink some water. So we should search our heart and see, do I have any gratitude to Srila Prabhupada for walking through fire for me? If there's a firefighter and they walk through fire and they save someone, they put that person in the newspaper and they get a big grand award. So we should search our heart and see, have I given Srila Prabhupada an award? Have I given him this trophy for coming and walking through fire to come and save me? And if I can actually, think, okay, Srila Prabhupada, you've done so much for me. What can I do to repay you? And Srila Prabhupada said, if you really want to please me, then distribute these books. So every day we're distributing books outside, and devotees come, they take Chanamrit, and I say, hey, why don't you take one book and distribute it for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure? And you know what they say? Oh, I don't have time. Mere time nahi hai. Or they have absolutely no interest in distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And I wonder, do they know that Srila Prabhupada wants us to distribute these? Does anybody know? I ask so many devotees every day, and nobody, except for one lady, I forced her. And she invited me for prasadam. I said, if you want me to come for prasadam, you have to take 10 books and distribute them. She was the only one that took it. It was like bribing her. So let us understand, Srila Prabhupada wants us to distribute these books. So let us go and distribute them. I got one book, One Back to Godhead, and it completely changed my life. I read it 50 times. Next day I joined. People are suffering like hell. The suicide rate is going up like anything. Suicide is very common now. So let us have a little compassion. Let us, try to save someone. Thousands of people are coming to this temple. Thousands. They come, they do darshan, and then they go away. Nobody talks to them. So if we have any time, we can buy some books from the bookstore, distribute them, go and talk to someone, get them some prasad. You can take them to the Nam Hut office. They teach them how to chant japa. They teach them, there's a whole spiel they give to all the guests. Even if you don't have time to talk to them, you can just guide them over to the bookstall or the Nam Hut office. So you just come here for 1 minute and sit. It's an air-conditioned room. You can sit and listen to this Maharaj. It's very nice Maharaj. And if you're a foreigner, they'll immediately do it. If the foreign devotees just stand there. Like Karuna Mataji, she's always upstairs. They see, oh, you're a foreigner and you're interested in Krishna? Oh, okay. So they just think what you're doing, I'll also do it. The Indians are like that, they're very simple. So if you're in a foreign body, you don't even speak Hindi, you can just go and direct them to the Nam Hut office. You just say, excuse me, can you just come 1 minute and come here and sit down here? And just because you're a foreigner, they'll do what you say. I've seen it 100 times, Excuse me, sir, can you just look at this book for 1 minute? It's a very good book. This is Amritvani. Amritvani. Amritvani means nectar, yes. This is the words, nectar of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, he's changed the whole world. He's got thousands of disciples. He's such a powerful one. Mahabhagavad changed the whole world. So if you read this book, you'll have his association and your life will change. And it's so easy. They immediately take it. 10 rupee book, immediately they will take it. And this one book will change their life. Srila Prabhupada, one devotee was asking Prabhupada, when we distribute your books, we get this most ecstatic feeling. We become so happy when we distribute your books. And you know what Srila Prabhupada said? He said, when you distribute one book, Lord Chaitanya will come and embrace you. That is why you feel so happy. So, aar kya chahiye? Lord Chaitanya comes and embraces you. What more do you want? And I'm telling you, book distribution makes you happy. It's fun, it's easy, and it's so ecstatic. You feel like dancing home. And of course, if you dance home, people will think you're mad. It's so ecstatic. You're getting so many embraces from Srila Prabhupada and Haridas Thakur and Lord Chaitanya. This is the way to go back to Godhead. This is the easy way. There was one devotee, his name was Nirguna. He was a book distributor in America. And he had cancer. He went to Mayapur to leave his body. Nirguna Prabhu. So one devotee was telling us a story and he said, okay, this book distributor has come to leave his body and I'm going to see. He said, Prabhupada said, anyone who distributes books, Lord Chaitanya will come and take them back to Godhead. So he said, I'm going to see if Prabhupada is right. If Lord Chaitanya comes and takes them back to Godhead, then I'll distribute books. He said he went online and he said that Prabhupada said it not once, he said it 3 times. The Lord Chaitanya will come and take you back to Godhead if you distribute these books. So he was in Mayapur for a few months and at the very end the doctor said he's got 1 hour to live. So he went to Mangalarti, this Prabhu, and he said, please everyone come for the last kirtan for Nirguna Prabhu. So he thought maybe 10 devotees would come. He said 100 devotees came. And he said the kirtan was led by Kurma Prabhu. And he said he never heard a kirtan like this in his life. Everybody was crying. Everybody was in ecstasy. And this devotee had asked, he said he wanted to go to Giriraj, but he was too much trouble. So they got him a Giriraj Shila and they kept it on his heart. And at the very end, this devotee who was not talking or sitting or eating, he was like just a dead body sitting there. At the end, he was crying. And he sat up and he said, he's telling me to take the Shila and go. Take the Shila and go. And they're saying, who's telling you? Mahaprabhu, Gauranga. And after that Shila, no one could find it anywhere. It was gone with that devotee. So this devotee was saying, oh my God, I was doubting Prabhupada's words. Prabhupada said that if you distribute books, Lord Chaitanya will come and take you back to Godhead. He said, I'm such a demon. I was doubting Prabhupada. I was thinking maybe he was a liar or a cheater. But Prabhupada is not a liar, he's not a cheater. Everything he says is absolutely right, absolutely correct. And if we just follow Srila Prabhupada, try to please him, we will also go back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada's book distribution key. So everyone, I beg you, please, with the straw in my mouth, everyone please, distribute books, distribute books. That's a quote, 3 times, distribute books, distribute books. You can just take one in your bag, just one, and Krishna will come, send you somebody who will take the book. If I don't have books, Krishna, why will Krishna send somebody to you? Okay, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. My name's Chamari. I'm from the Australia Yatra. I'll also mention that I actually came to Krishna consciousness through hearing Kirtan, hearing the Kirtan party, and also being given a Back to Godhead. And I read that Back to Godhead 1,000 times. It was everything to me, absolute everything. I came to Krishna consciousness. I saw the devotees in 71, and I came to the temple, and I was actually on my way to Asia. And the temple president said to me, he says, well, before you go to Asia, why don't you come and stay here? Stay here for a couple of weeks. Anyway, 45 years later, I'm still here. So I came to the temple in Sydney, and it was quite well developed at that time, even though we were a little bit naive, very, very enthusiastic. But we didn't get as much intimate association as you did, Narayani. You're so fortunate. I also continued with my service and stayed on in Australia. A lot of my god sisters and some god brothers, but mainly god sisters, travelled overseas, a lot to India, and then some to the USA to do either book distribution, pujari work, or just because that desire to go to India was strong. I stayed in Australia, did deity worship, did Sankirtan for many, many years, and the emphasis was daily. We went right from the word go, we went on Harinam, and we didn't have many books. We handed out very simple Back to Godheads and some pamphlets and flyers, and then as the bigger books came in those for many, many, many years. But I'll just tell you a few of my little memories of Srila Prabhupada. There's many, but there was this one time I just turned 18. So I was an 18-year-old many years back. Our mind is very turbulent. Not that it's not now, but it was very, very turbulent. And it was 73, I think. Prabhupada only came to Australia every once a year, once every 18 months. So Prabhupada had came, and we had all gone down to Melbourne, and we were not very financial, but we had a very, very small temple. But all the devotees, we had the most ecstatic welcome kirtan for Prabhupada. And remember when Prabhupada would come, it was just it was just so intense, it was wonderful. So we all pushed pushed into this little tiny temple. My intention wasn't really to get up by Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasana, but by the force that I was being pushed along, and where I ended up, the temple room was only about as big as this room, but not from maybe 60 odd devotees in there. I ended up right next to Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasana. How I did that, and it was like, oh, I was maybe closer to where you are, Prabhu. You know, I was standing just right here, and there's Prabhupada. And I wasn't being removed, I wasn't being asked to go to the back or anything like that. It was just, that's where I was. And actually then I realised how close I was to Srila Prabhupada. And at that moment, I saw his feet, because he had already got up into the Vyasasana and he was sitting cross-legged, and Prabhupada had these, what I would say, an inexpensive pair of khaki brown socks on. They were nylon-y socks, and they had little ribbed patterns in them. And just through my maybe neophyte attitude and nature and my turbulent mind, I was thinking, well, those feet, if I just focus on those feet, you know, there's this big kirtan going on while I'm doing this. I just stopped and looked at Srila Prabhupada's feet, and I thought, okay, if I just meditate on these feet, I'll never have another devotional anxiety moment again in my life. And actually, if I really meditate on these feet, maybe in 3 days, I could be completely knowledgeable of all Vedic knowledge and really fixed. So I was looking at these feet with such intensity, and I had an incredible feeling. And I looked up, and Srila Prabhupada is frowning at me. He's really, and you know, it's one of those looks that you kind of know, maybe I should be chanting. Do you know, I wasn't quite doing the right thing at that particular moment. It gave me a real fright, actually, because if you've ever had the frown of your guru or Srila Prabhupada, it's quite daunting. Do you know, you're not expecting it. You're kind of always expecting smiles. And I had the frown, you know, Prabhupada amongst all this kirtan. He had a very big pair of wampers, and he frowned. And my realisation after that, after I got over the shock, was actually bhakti is not an instant thing. You have to do a lifetime of service. It's actually a preparation, a endeavour, and you just keep on working on it. Because I was just thinking, any day now, keep thinking on those feet, I'm going to be up there. So it was a smack in the face realisation to more or less, for me personally, to get real and just not think it's all going to happen tomorrow, that I actually had to focus and be in here for the long haul. But it was a really, really ecstatic. And I will mention, just like when your gurus come, how wonderful for you having that association. When Prabhupada came, the intensity, because the whole temple, the whole yatra was just focused totally on Prabhupada. Everything would get a new coat of paint. I would assume that happened in America too. Everything would get a new coat of paint. The deities would have new clothes. Everything was just new. The gardens were, you know, done beautifully, and it was, the energy was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Just a couple of other things. On the morning walks, we had a nice system that everyone used to go on the morning walks, and which you just relished completely. And I hold very dear and near that there's a photo of myself quite near to Prabhupada on that morning walk. And so many devotees say, oh, Chamari, how fortunate, you know, that you were on that morning walk. But if the truth really is known, on the morning walk, you couldn't hear a thing, but the enthusiasm and just the absolute joy of being in that intimate or that close association of Srila Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada would stop, because he had a comment to say, everyone would lean up and try and listen, and it was absolutely blissful, just so blissful. So that was one thing. Another time that in Melbourne, because Sydney Temple was a very simple temple, so Prabhupada would traditionally go down to Melbourne Temple. We'd all go down there. All the yatra from all around Australia would just go down to Melbourne. For Prabhupada to fly in from India or from America to Australia, it's a really long haul flight, especially back in the 70s. It was really, really intense. So Prabhupada wouldn't travel around Australia. He'd go to one point and we'd all travel to that temple. And it was always Melbourne. Prabhupada's rooms were upstairs. We actually purchased a high school in Melbourne and did that up, so there was a very nice facility there. Prabhupada's rooms were all upstairs, and then downstairs in this particular section was offices. Like Narani, I also was able to type. We didn't have computers, there was no cell phones, there was no nothing in those days. But we did have an IBM electric typewriter, which was pretty fancy. And it required some letters and some things had to be typed. So they asked myself to come and type them. And I was kind of pretty chuffed, obviously puffed up, that I was able to go into this area and type these letters, and Prabhupada was upstairs. And within about 10 minutes of me typing away, very directly came Krishna down the stairs, asked me to stop typing, because even though the door was closed to the office that I was working in, and Prabhupada was upstairs and his doors was closed, the typing was annoying Prabhupada, that tap, tap, tap on the typewriter, and Prabhupada wasn't able to translate. So we all heard of Prabhupada's sensitive hearing, and he actually wanted peace and quiet when he was translating. So it was another time that my little ego was just cut, and I just thought, this is healthy, this is good, but it was, we actually always have to think of our service to Prabhupada. And maybe the last thing I'll say is that there's many things, but this one other association I had, and a lot of you would have experienced it, when we went to get our Gayatri, and especially maybe for the women, we'd always put on our special sari, and then we'd go to get our Gayatri. And I'm not quite sure, I know it's a little bit different now, but in the day when we got our Gayatri, you actually didn't know how to count. You'd never seen the Gayatri mantra before, and it was very, very hush-hush. It was a real hush-hush. So you had no idea where you had to start with your fingers, what you had to do, how you position them. So I'm getting in there, and Prabhupada, he's on his little this little seat that we had for him, and he was actually so petite and so tiny. And we came in, gave my obeisances, and he handed me the Gayatri and said, so follow me. And Prabhupada's perfect pronunciation, I'm looking at this piece of paper and I'm thinking, oh my God, and I'm trying to follow him. And he goes, and you count? And so he says, count like this. And so I'm counting, and he grabs my hand, he says, no, not like that, like this. I'm thinking, what is the difference? And I'm like just overwhelmed. But it was really special, and it was really, at that moment I was just so flustered. Anyway, it was really special. But we're blessed. We knew that Srila Prabhupada was really special, didn't we, when he was on the planet with us. We know now. We can see that potency. So lucky. I thank you all. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So, again, back in Calcutta, in maybe 1976, 77, it was Shringararti, time to open the deities. And so many flowers were there. People brought more flowers even than the 50 garlands. So I was putting them everywhere. And Prabhupada came, he took darshan, he went and sat on the Vyasasan, and he called myself up and my husband, and he said, thank you very much for worshipping the deities so nicely. And then we were offering our obeisances, and afterwards when sannyasi told us, did you hear what Prabhupada said when you offer obeisances? We said, no, what did Prabhupada say? And Prabhupada said, be blessed. And so we thought, oh, now our life is perfect, we got the blessings of the spiritual master. But then the next day I thought, well, okay, yesterday I got the blessing, today I have to earn them again. So every day you have to earn the blessings of the spiritual master. It's not, you can't retire like, maybe I was 25 or 26 years old. Okay, I'm retired, I got the blessings. But no, you have to keep on earning them every day. Another thing was, when I was going on the morning walk, with Srila Prabhupada, I was always trying to figure out, now Prabhupada is over 70 and I'm in my 20s, how does he walk so fast? And how come we're tired and Prabhupada's not tired and he's walking so fast?
I have to go.
Hare Krishna. So I was always trying to figure out Prabhupada with my intelligence. I could never figure out. I would look at him, and it was to me like if you watch a movie and you see a picture projected. It was like he was here, but at the same time he was not here. He was in this world, but not of it. So I got that impression when I was looking at him, and I was always trying to figure out, okay, where is he? Is he in the spiritual world? Is he here? Where, But I could never figure out. So I was always watching him, trying to use my intelligence, trying to figure out. But after a while, I realized I can't understand Prabhupada. I can't figure this out. So then after a while, I understood there's only one way you can understand the spiritual master, and that's by doing devotional service. If you do devotional service, then you please him, and then he will reveal himself to you. So those were some of the realizations I had. Another time in Calcutta, Prabhupada was lecturing on Bhagavad-Gita. Avajananti Mamudha Manashim Tanumashitam, 9/11. And so the men were singing the verse. They had the book. The ladies didn't have the book. I said it by memory. And Prabhupada was so happy that I knew the verse. His eyes got big, so I thought, okay, good. We should know the verses. Prabhupada, that will make him happy. That we should read the books as well as distribute them. We should read, we should know what's in the books. Because he wrote them for us to read. So that was another experience with Srila Prabhupada. You have anything more to say?
These are some pastimes from Delhi, 1973. I had just come back from France and was staying at Anandiketan. I think it was Anandiketan. Srila Prabhupada asked me how the temple was doing in France, in Paris. And I said, Srila Prabhupada, it's very dynamic. There's a lot of preaching going on. And Prabhupada was very happy. He said, yes, that's how the temple should be, dynamic. And it's the process of Krishna consciousness. As Radhakund Prabhu was mentioning, Prabhupada wants us to distribute books. Narayani just mentioned, Prabhupada wants us to read his books. It's a dynamic process, and if we actually engage in it, that's very pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. In contrast to that, I went in to see Srila Prabhupada another time, and he asked me, so where are you staying? And at that time I was going between my parents' house and the temple because I couldn't engage myself in some devotional service. I was in Maya. So Prabhupada said, so what will you do at your parents' house? Sit on your mother's lap? And I had to take a deep swallow at that one. It was very clear that Prabhupada wanted us to engage in unconditional service. And I'm very proud that I have God sisters that have actually done that have sacrificed their own comforts and desires to serve Srila Prabhupada under God brothers and God sisters under difficult circumstances. Another time, just to demonstrate how you can't hide anything from the spiritual master. I'd brought a chadar in to Srila Prabhupada. I'd bought a chadar for Srila Prabhupada from the Ashoka Hotel. And I didn't want Srila Prabhupada to know that I'd gone into such a place. So I took all the labels off the packaging, and I put the gift on Prabhupada's table and offered my obeisances. And as I was getting up, Srila Prabhupada said, "So this is from the Ashoka Hotel?" And I'll never forget that there was no way that Prabhupada could have known. But somehow he knew. Another time in New Mayapur, I was feeling a bit down and out and neglected. And during the darshan, just as I was feeling that, Prabhupada looked right at me and said, "If Krishna has recognized you, what more do you want?" So again, devotional service, unconditional. You don't do it for recognition, or you don't perform devotional service if you like the situation or you're comfortable. Another time in Bombay, I was asking to leave Bombay and go back to Paris. There was plenty of opportunity and plenty of service to do in Bombay, but somehow again I couldn't get into it. So again Prabhupada pointed out my weakness. He said, "So you like Paris better than Bombay?" Just pointing out that devotional service is devotional service wherever it is. You should be able to connect and perform it. But at the same time, he was very kind and accommodating, as he always is, and very patient. Let's see. One time in Mayapur at a darshan, Srila Prabhupada was talking about different things. He talked about ambassador cars. He said, "I don't like ambassador cars." Does anyone know what an ambassador is? Well, Prabhupada said, "I don't like them. They're tin cans." He said, I like Mercedes." So later, the devotees brought a Mercedes from Germany, overland. Also in connection with that, Srila Prabhupada once told Bhagavan that he should get a stretch Cadillac in Bombay, and on the side of it write, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Guru of the Americans. Something like that. But at the same darshan in Mayapur, then Prabhupada was talking about a helicopter ride that brought him from Heathrow Airport to Bhaktivedanta Manor. Shyam Sundar Prabhu had arranged for a helicopter so that Prabhupada got to Bhaktivedanta Manor very quickly and easily. So he was saying to the devotees that perhaps we should do that from Calcutta to Mayapur, arrange for a helicopter and just a quick trip, quick ride. Then Pusta Krishna said to him, he said, Srila Prabhupada, actually helicopters are not very safe. If the propeller goes, then it comes right down. So then Prabhupada said, perhaps we shouldn't do that. So that was shelved. But at the same darshan, Prabhupada was talking about there was a situation at that time where one devotee was practically beat up by a few other devotees. They had some disagreement, and the news got to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was addressing the situation. He said that actually Krishna's love for the living entity is unconditional, just like a father's love for his son. No matter what you do, still I love you. And he also said that if this person has come from so far away, there must be some love. So in spite of the fact that perhaps this person wasn't behaving in a way that was completely in compliance with Srila Prabhupada's wishes, Prabhupada still recognized his love, and Prabhupada still loved him. Also, another time in New Mayapur, Prabhupada asked how my father was doing, and I gave some silly answer to the effect that not as well as you, Srila Prabhupada, he's just looking after his roses, or this or that, making out that my father was really, not worth talking about. But Srila Prabhupada asked, how old is your father? And I replied, and Prabhupada said in a very compassionate tone, old enough to be my son. And that is the way Prabhupada saw everyone. He felt responsible to deliver everyone. He felt compassion to everyone, no matter what the consciousness, what the situation. Prabhupada loves us all, being Shakshad Hari, the representative of Krishna. He loves every living entity, no matter what we do. Not that we should do any damn thing, but no matter what we do, we can be assured that Srila Prabhupada still loves us, and he will always, always, always continue to nourish us and give us another chance to fully surrender so that we can be fully happy, which is what Prabhupada is training us to be fully happy and to be full of love and trust. He said that this movement is based on love and trust. And Prabhupada manifested that love and trust. He loves all of his disciples, he loves everyone, and he is trusting that we will follow his instructions and carry this movement on in a glorious and pure way. Purity is the force, and Prabhupada is successful because he didn't compromise. As he always said, if I have any credit, it's because I didn't add or subtract or change anything. That's more easily said than done, because there's every temptation for a conditioned soul to add, subtract, or try to improve or change something. But as Radha Kund very beautifully mentioned, everything Prabhupada says, does, thinks, everything about Srila Prabhupada is perfect. He's not a conditioned soul like us. He's a Shaktavesh avatar. And we shouldn't forget that. It's very easy to forget that Srila Prabhupada was personally hand-picked, hand-chosen, and sent to deliver us, and that everything that is in his books, in his tapes, every gesture is purely spiritual. And the more we can associate with him on any, whether it's through reading his books or watching videos or just hearing just hearing everything that has manifested in our movement has come from Prabhupada's vibration, from his chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and his vibration in his books. So the more we attach ourselves to his devotees, his books, his everything to do with him, the more we become spiritualized, as Prabhupada gives the analogy of the rod and fire. So we need to do that, and we're very fortunate to have the association of such wonderful young and old devotees. And I pray that we all continue to make rapid and steady progress in pleasing Srila Prabhupada and building that love and trust amongst us, that transparency. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Thumbs up.
I just wanted to mention that people telling me, oh, you're so lucky you had association with Srila Prabhupada. But actually, the grandchildren, they get more love than the children. I have 10 grandchildren, 10 and a half. And I love them like anything. So the poti and the pota, they get more love than the kids. Prabhupada used to give cookies out in Los Angeles every day to the kids only. He never gave us. Never. He had a whole big tray of cookies and never to us. So one of my god sisters, she put her hand out and she said, she wanted a cookie. And Prabhupada said, no. So you have no idea how fortunate you are. You're the grandkids. You get more love than us. So you just have to tap on this grandfather, granddaughter, grandson relationship. It's super nectar. Just develop this love for your grandfather and you'll get so much mercy. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Last word, Ashaka Prabhu wanted me to tell you about her book. Have you read it, Prabhuji? Have you read it already? Maybe you should tell, because I haven't read it. So
Huh?
maybe you can tell about it, because I haven't read it yet.
So it's how she joined. It's basically the transformation of a very atheistic mentality into a devotional mentality, all by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And so you can see very intellectual, very always doubting in the beginning, but then how she changes. It's wonderful to see the transformation that she went through.
She's selling it.
And she's selling the books out at KDLM.
Thank you. Everyone get one if you can.